I've been the Librarian of Congress for, I just celebrated 7th year. And there are moments, though, and I call them pinch me moments, that I get to do something like this, to interview Miss Sheila Johnson. So thank you for
No,
that.
thank you. This is truly an
Thank
honor.
you. Thank you. We're so happy to have you. The Judge Bill was here. We absconded with him and showed something that was special, the playbill for ceremonies, old
In
black
Dark
men,
Old
that,
Men, yeah.
yes, that you were in. And your friends are here, as I said, and members of the library's Madison Council. And so we're just thrilled because you'll notice people will be able to purchase your book in
Right,
hardcover.
right.
But I got an advanced reading copy.
It's
Okay.
called a galley. The hardbacks are
Okay.
outside.
I got it. It didn't have the photos, and I was like, can't wait for the photos
Yeah, they're in
and
the hard
everything.
copy.
But you've been everywhere. You've been everywhere. Now, some of you may get a certain article, publication, AARP bulletin. So this was one of the first ones, and there she is. But then,
Hey, it's 86 million subscribers.
all right,
That's a hot ticket.
I know some of you get this. Uh, and then, like the Wall Street Journal,
Oh,
full
yeah.
page, interviews, all over.
Yes, it's really been a
Has it
whirlwind.
been a whirlwind?
Yeah, I came back yesterday was Bloomberg, and I forgot where I was before that, but it's every day it's been something.
But the response has been
It's been
amazing.
phenomenal. Oh, yes, last night I was at the Stryker Center with Gail King, yeah. So it was amazing. It's been amazing.
So, what's the question that everybody asks?
Why did I write this book? Every time I get interviewed, that's the question. And it's the hardest question of all the questions that are asked because I had to sit there and think about it. What many of you don't know that I've really been on a journey. It's been an arduous journey. And it's one that it's really about self-discovery. Even though, people, they put this billionaire thing in front and try to define me with that, and they think that my life has been so easy. It hasn't. My life has been in 3 acts. First as a violinist, concert violinist. Second, co-founder of Black Entertainment Television, and then third, the hospitality. But in each one of those acts, there has been stumbling blocks. I've had to work through adversity and just try and get my footing again. I would go through one act and all of the issues that I went through there. Second act, which is huge. Um, that was the toughest. And now in the third act is the happiest act that I've gone into. But it's a case where I feel like I've been through a war, and all of the wounds that I've been carrying with me for so many years are starting to heal. This book, the reason why I wrote it, is very therapeutic. And so many people had been on me for years to write a book. I emotionally wasn't ready to do this. There were a lot of things that I had to work through. And it was just very, very tough. And then when I decided, I was really forced. Rita Braver from CBS and her husband Bob Barnett, I had given a speech about, because I was hosting Kwame Alexander for his book that was coming out, and we had about 120 African American authors. We were really celebrating. We were in our culinary garden, and so many of them were so curious about the story behind Salamander and how I got this built. So I went on and talked about it, and it says, you've got to write a book about what you've been through. But I just had to find the right person, and I give props to Lisa Dickey. I interviewed a lot of people because it is so emotional. And even when I talk about it, I can feel things in here. And sometimes if you see my hands shaking, I'm still suffering from post-traumatic stress. My husband can vouch for it. Abuse is tough, and it's real. And so often when women have to go through this, and you feel so alone, and I felt so alone as an African American woman, And then people out there are saying to me, you can't leave that marriage because you're the king and queen of the media, and just as I thought I would have friends that would help me transition into a new life, they weren't there for me. So it was a lonely voyage that I had to go on. And when I decided to write this, and Lisa did a lot of background investigation, there's already stuff out there, so a lot of it's not new, but I had to put it in context of a story. It's like shooting a movie. It's the arc of the story. And just trying to find out where I should start with this arc of a story. And it started out when I was 16 years old. That's when I had to grow up all of a sudden. And I don't want to give too much away because of the book. So
Read the book.
I need you to read it, yeah.
But when I did that first act, when you mentioned a classically trained musician, you picked up a violin and you would fall in love. You had no idea. How did that start? Your parents encouraged it? Your music? What?
It was interesting. I had to move 13 times. My father was one of 8 African American neurosurgeons in the country, but he was not allowed to practice in white hospitals, and he could only operate on African American patients. Once he finished a group of patients in one state, they then moved us to another. So 13 times I moved. And people say, that you should be very unstable. I mean, it did build resilience in my life, but I also got to know so many different people. By the time we reached Maywood, Illinois, the state of Illinois required, and I love this, that students had to pick an instrument and take up an instrument. And to that day, I'm very grateful for that rule that they had, because that became the foundation of my life. Music is really, and still is, the foundation of my life. So the instrument that I chose was the violin, and I remember touching this instrument. I just couldn't believe how it felt, how it sounded. And my father would say, you picked the most difficult instrument.
Yes, you did. You did. I can vouch for that.
And I loved it, yeah.
And just from the book, when my mother saw how determined I was to pursue a career in music, she persuaded my father to buy me an 18th century violin made by the master Italian, what's that word? Luther? Now, a full disclosure, I'm the child of 2 classically trained musicians, 1 violinist and a pianist, and that's why I'm sitting here as a librarian. No talent.
Luthier.
So I had to show my 92-year-old
Luthier.
mother the book when it was the music
Yeah.
part. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
luthier.
This is
Landolfi. It's a
Landolfi.
violin,
violin. And at that time, it was $15,000 back
yeah. Yeah, it was,
1950 something. Yeah.
that was a lot of money back then.
But for you, it was more than just a violin. It represented my parents' belief in my abilities.
Yes,
And so many young people at that time didn't have that.
right. But I have to thank the state of Illinois for forcing
For
me
big
into,
force.
yeah.
And then you continued.
I continued, and it was really interesting because I was over in another room. They did the most wonderful thing. They brought the violins out, and the piece that I got my first standing ovation,
Perpetual motion.
Perpetual Motion by Boehm, and they had it out there on the table.
We
It was
brought
just-
out the good silver.
Yeah, it was really great.
Okay. We. In fact, that violin, and I thought it was the Strads, but they said, oh no,
No, it
she's
was-
seen many Strads. We
was a
know that
Gornay,
about her.
yeah.
They,
Yeah,
what was it that
The
they brought out?
Gornay, yeah.
Yeah, they brought that out. already, did that. But that was something, you really pursued it. And then you ended,
I really did, and went to the School of Music at the University of Illinois, Fine and Applied Arts, and got a degree in education and performance, yes.
now you did something else there. Now I'm just going to give a tease. You You were the first black cheerleader at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. Yeah, that was big. I don't know if the
It
people
was.
here understand.
Yeah, you know, when you have close to 40,000 students
They
there
have.
and only 100 black folks, and then I went and tried out for the cheerleading squad, got on there. I don't think they knew that I was black.
Well, they would call you,
Jelly hips.
yeah,
They called me I don't think I'm that big.
but that was your nickname, Jelly
Yeah, they
Hips.
called me jelly hips. But anyway, the reason why, and I had been a cheerleader in elementary, junior high, and the reason why I wanted to do it, and this is a very interesting story, and this is way before Title IX, and it was the only way women could really even touch a football field or a basketball court. But when I made the cheerleading squad, I was thrown out of the music school because my violin teacher felt as though I was going to break my fingers, and they never had anybody from the School of Music ever participate in athletics. And I said, you know, I want to be a great violinist and a great teacher, but I also want to be well rounded. And that's what was important to me. So Dan Perino, we went to the dean, and it took me about a week to get back in. But I had to really state my case in order to get back into the School of Music. And to this day, they remember it. And my cheerleading uniform is in the Hall of Fame in the athletic department.
Oh boy, it's
Yes.
Champaign-Urbana. Oh my, that's where my mom's from.
Yeah.
So you know that too.
We have a lot of
Oh, when
things
we
in
went through
common
it,
here.
there were a lot of pencil marks in here, and that. But what was interesting too was the fact that at U of I, you met a person who is still a part of your life, your mentor.
Oh,
Susan.
yes. I didn't know where you were
Superstar.
going there. Yes. Okay.
I wasn't gonna go there.
Yeah, yeah.
This
Uh,
is the part. No, Susan and the fact
Susan
she's
Sterrett, and she's still around. She's still teaching, believe it or not. But this woman played a huge part in my life. And this is very interesting, and I think even when you read the book, you'll understand it more. When I was living in Maywood, Illinois, and that area was basically middle to lower middle class, I did not know anything about SATs, PSATs. All of a sudden, I knew I was going to go to college, but I didn't know I had to take these exams to get into college. We didn't have the money or the resources or anybody even showing us how to take these tests. And this is the reality that is still going on in this country in pockets of areas where we are still suppressed as people of color. We don't have the money to be able to get these prep classes. I didn't know anything about it. I just went and they told me where to report. I went and took the SATs. I got the lowest scores. My fellows that are out there, you don't even listen to this because I know you all are smart. But I had the lowest SAT scores I've ever seen. I didn't even know what it meant. And when Susan Sterrett looked at this, she says, "Now, Sheila, don't worry. We're going to work this out." Sure enough, she went to the University of Illinois, arranged an audition, and I went down there and performed for Paul Rowland. And he says, "You're in." He says, "You're that talented." He says, "I don't care about the scores or anything, but there is no way I would have gotten into college if it weren't for her." And to this day, we still talk. We still are very well, we're connected, but she has been the savior and the mentor that has really watched over me. And there's a very strong theme about her in this book, how she continued to play a part in my life.
through thick and thin.
Yes,
She was there for you.
yes,
And she also, and you made a point too about sometimes mentors don't have to look like you.
right.
Yeah, it could be it's a person who supports you and is interested in you as a
Yeah.
person.
And, you know, that has stayed with me. And even as I've grown up and become wiser, and some of my Harvard fellows are sitting in the audience, this is very important to me that I bring up this younger generation, that I am there for them because there were people there for me. And this is what I want to continue to do. And it's been a huge part of my philanthropy.
Also, with the teaching at Sidwell
Hmm.
for what, 17 years?
No, I only stayed there for like 70 to 73, 70 to
But there was
72,
yeah.
yeah. But I was only making $7,200 a year. And
That's
it
where I
was
got the
barely, you can't live off of that. And so that's when I started learning to become a real entrepreneur. And it's really interesting. And I decided I was going to be an actress. So I went, there was a opening down at the West End Circle Theater Club, and it was Ceremonies and Dark Old Men. I went and auditioned for it because the person that was supposed to be in the play was called back to Hollywood or somewhere. So I went down and I auditioned for it. I didn't know what I was auditioning for, but it was a 20-minute part on stage, and I played the part of a prostitute named Candy. And when I read the script and they wanted me to say some of these bad words, and I just couldn't get it out because I knew my students would come and watch me on stage if I got the part. And I practiced just kind of mouthing. But it was an interesting part where I had to get some information from a man. Um, uh, I remember your part, Bill, Theo's father. And I had to really try and get this information out of him. And we were dancing on the stage and we were singing Sweet Georgia. I was singing Sweet Georgia Brown and dancing with him. And it was a very timed part. And I kept saying, oh, his name was Russell. And I said, oh, Russell, come on, you just got to give me a little bit. Come on, come on, come on. And I know it was a dirty part. But we made it funny. And so then I got him into the bed, and all of a sudden he started snoring. And the audience just fell out laughing. But it was a great part. It was fun. I
didn't
really
see
had
that
fun
part in
doing
the
it.
book. That wasn't in the book. Okay, about the snoring.
Well,
Good, but we were
part of
able to, but we were in, and we were able to show you the playbill too
yes, right.
in there.
And I made 3 times the amount of money doing that little 20-minute skit on the stage. And that's what helped me buy our first house. See, so I started flipping real estate after that. That's why I'm in the,
Early,
yeah.
early. And then there came a time, though, you had to sell that violin.
Yes. This was the beginning of the second act of my life when we were starting Black Entertainment Television. Not only did I, because I was working, I signed a loan, money for a loan, and I also had to sell my violin so that we could pay the rent on our first office space. And it was the American Trial Lawyers building, which is now a little hotel in Georgetown. But I could not tell my mother about it. It would have torn her apart. First of all, she was mad that I even got married to this guy. And Susan Sterrett kept saying, he's not worthy of you. But I sold that violin because I wanted to support him. And we had this vision, and I really did believe in the vision of starting an African American network because there was no voice out there that really addressed the black community and their issues. And we had this vision, and I was determined to get it executed. And that was important. So all the way through those years of building that company from the beginning all the way to the sale. Now, we had a guardian angel, and that was John Malone. Because when we took the proposal to Denver, where he was based, he loved the idea. And you all have to understand, this is the whole time when there was the birth of cable. CNN, Bloomberg, all of us started going up on the air. But we just didn't have the wherewithal. They did. We couldn't get loans or anything. And John Malone says, look, I think this is the best idea and I will fund you. He wrote a $500,000 check back there to get us started. So that's how it got started, and he continued to fund us. The company never made money until the sale. It's like owning a team, you know?
Oh, we're getting to that. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
getting to that.
So anyway, yeah, and so he stayed with us to the very end. We paid him back, but he stayed with us to the very end. If it weren't for him, there is no way in the world that network would have continued. Now, it's up in New York. Viacom has taken it over, but Sherry Redstone wants to sell it. So Tyler Perry had put a bid in, and I guess they didn't accept it. So I don't know what's going to happen now.
Did you ever get another violin?
Another what?
Violin.
Oh, of course I did. After we started making a little bit of money, I bought another violin. Yeah,
Yeah,
I had
and
to,
they're probably
yeah.
pretty nice.
Yes, a Grafillo. Go ahead.
But and do you still practice or do?
Not anymore.
You don't have
I
as much
stare
time.
at it when I pass my library at my house. I did take the cello up during COVID, and I did pull the violin out also because I was really bored. But I'm such a perfectionist that unless I'm practicing every day, I just,
Just let it.
no. And I haven't, yeah, it's the way it is.
So then the hospitality that
Yes.
came.
So I moved into the third act of my life, and that is starting Salamander Resort and Spa. And so fast forward, we now have a collection of hotels. But even in this third act of life, it was a tough sale for the town of Middleburg and beyond to get that resort up. It was hard, but I got it done. And through all of the years of trying to get the permitting and getting exemptions to do this or that, we came to a vote one night, and I won by one vote. So I don't want to give anything away, but it's a very serious read in that book of just the steps that we went through in trying to get the permits to get that resort built.
And it was years.
It was years, yeah. And it was tough. It was a real fight.
And now it's one of the jewels of Middleburg.
Well, not only is it one of the jewels, we've won the Forbes 5-star ratings. I think we're into our 5th year with the Forbes rating. Thank you. And the other thing is USA Today has named us the #1 luxury hotel collection.
All right.
Yeah, so we're #1.
Yes, and then the film
And then
festival.
Travel and Leisure put us premier out there. I can't remember the number, John.
What?
Out of the top 25, we're number 12. Yes, and all the hotels ahead of us are in Europe. So it's been great. And I have to say, I've got the most incredible executive team I could ever wish for, because I can't do this job alone. And I think what you all have to understand, when I decided to go into this third act of my life, I didn't know anything about hotels. I didn't know the first thing about it. People come up to me. I said, what you want to do is you want to find the best in the business, and they've got to be smarter than you. So you have to be humble enough, to accept that. And so because I was able to do that, I brought the best in the business in, and I've got the best top executives, and they're still with me. And that's just been amazing. They really know the business, and I've learned a lot from them. I've learned a lot.
And so then there's that sports.
Yes.
We touched on it. So Jelly Hips got a chance to have her own teams.
Yes.
So what?
And Michelle
How did
Freeman
that-
is here. She's also one of my partners. Where are you, Michelle? Yeah, right there. So we're the only 2 women in Monumental and team ownership, so. But this was a very unique experience because, now I'm going all the way back to, it's 2007. is Abe Poland. When he was alive, he was getting up there in age, and he had owned the Capitals. Ted Leonsis had bought the Capitals. But Abe still owned the Wizards and the Mystics. So Abe asked me to come to his office one day, and this is a lesson of never burning your bridges. And before I could even sit down, he said, "Sheila, I want you to be the face of the Washington Mystics." And I said, "What do you mean, the face?" I knew what he meant. He wanted me to buy the thing. And so my feelings at that point, I was so excited that a woman would get this kind of an opportunity because there were no other woman owners at the time. And I thought about it for a second. I said, "Okay, let me have the financials." He says, "Now this is highly confidential." He says, "But you get back to me as soon as possible. Do not tell anybody." I get in the car. I call Sandy Aim, my lawyer, and I said, "Sandy, I've just been offered a team." He says, "You do not want to buy a sports team." And I said, "But if you were offered a sports team, what would you do?" And he got quiet. I said, "You just answered my question." So anyway, I said, I said, "I'll be in your office in 15 minutes. And we got Ted Leonsis on the phone. And I said, "Ted, Abe Poland has just offered me the Washington Mystics." And he kind of giggled on the other end. I said, "But I want to buy into the Wizards and the Caps. I have the wherewithal to do it, and that's what I want to do. Not a penny more or a penny less." And he says, "Well, I'll take it to the other owners and see." And Ted called me back like a day or two later. He says, "They said it was okay." So that's how I got into it. So Michelle and I are having the best time. We won Stanley Cup and national championship.
And that's something?
Yeah.
And so the theme, too, of strong women being able to do everything or anything also runs through that confidence. How did you develop your own confidence? Because you did go through a lot.
Okay, I'll take this back at the very beginning. And when you reopen the book to start reading it, and as I said, at age 16, I had to grow up very quickly. And this was a case where my father just suddenly up and left my mother. And what you have to understand, in those days, him being a surgeon, they were at the top of society, you know. And my mother, she was comfortable. She was living comfortably. But when he left and took everything with him. It's like he never had a family. This went on for a few weeks, and suddenly I realized I had to get a job. So I was mopping floors at J.C. Penney. And I thought, to this day, if I ever lost everything, I could still mop floors at J.C. Penney. And I do mean that. But I came in from work one night. My brother was screaming. My mother was on the floor. She had had a total nervous breakdown, and she was foaming at the mouth. So I had to call the ambulance, and I called my Aunt Mercedes. She wasn't my real aunt, but she was a friend, and I told her what was happening, because I didn't realize I had to pay for an ambulance, and I didn't have any money on me. But at that point, and even after she got out of the hospital, women back then did not have any rights whatsoever. She couldn't get into the banking account. She couldn't get credit cards. She couldn't even go after him for child support. I mean, he left us, and he ran off with the bedpan nurse, you know. But that was a reality that hit me, and is sitting with me to this day. I never, ever want to be in that kind of a situation. And that's what has motivated me to keep working. That hurt, and it will still stay with me for the rest of my life. But to see her on the floor in the condition that she was in. So I was there for my mother, and this is the arc of the story. I was there for my mother from the very beginning, and as I was going through my dark moments, I moved her to Middleburg, to my farm, and she was there for me during the times that I needed her. And I remember her always saying to me, Sheila, you got to get your power back. And she stayed on me, and she stayed alive until to the day after the resort opened the doors. She
Wow.
died 2 months later.
Wow.
She says, I'm going to live to
She's
see
gonna
this
see it.
happen. Yeah. Because she knew what we were going through and what a,
The toll.
yeah, the toll. And she was so cute. She would say, does Barack Obama know what you're going through? And I
That's
said,
a
Mama, I
mom.
don't know. You need to go up to the White House and you tell him. You need to go tell him what you're going through. He can step in there and solve these problems. I
That's
said,
right.
Mom, it doesn't quite work like that.
Yeah, but you knew she was there, and she
She
got to
was
see
there.
it.
She was there, yes.
And she got to see it, and it's a wonderful
Right.
photo in there
Yeah.
of her.
So should I tell my romantic story?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
because I have to tell you, this is not only was I going through and the different things, but I was so into it, and they know at work I would call up and say, "Guess what?" or whatever. It really
Yeah.
is a page turner.
So we're going to go back to the time I was in Ceremonies in Dark Old Men. And when I got the part that I played as Candy, there was someone else in that play who played the part of Theo. And it was William T. Newman. So when I went to get my divorce, remember this, Sandy? Walked into the chambers of the courthouse. And I said, Sandy, I think I know this guy. And he goes, do not say anything.
No.
Keep your mouth shut. Let's get through this divorce. And so once we went through what we had to go through, he says, now you can approach the bench. So I said, Your Honor, may I approach the bench? And he said, yes, you may. I said, by any chance, do you remember me? He goes, oh, yeah, I do. So 3 weeks later, I invited him. I said, it was an invitation of William T. Newman and guest to the Washington International Horse Show. I was president of the horse show at the time. But he didn't show up with anyone
All right.
because his mother
love
said, I remember how you felt about that girl. Do not bring anyone with you. And from that moment on, and we would have been there.
There were moms on both sides.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. And though he did something, and I just thought that was wonderful what
He went through the therapy with me.
Yeah.
He says, I am not going to marry you under these conditions. He knew full well what had been going on in my life. He knew more than I did. And so he just said, we're not going to get into a marriage until we work this out. Because there was times I just couldn't pull myself together. I was crying a lot. I was depressed. It really played a toll on me. But anyway,
but look at you now.
I know.
And the best part is this is not fiction.
No, and it's really interesting because the CEO of Simon & Schuster, he says, you know, it reads like fiction, but it's not.
It does. It does.
Yeah, he just loved the book.
I can attest to that because there are parts when you realize that even though it's your story,
Hmm.
other people can get so much out of it.
Oh, yeah.
And haven't you been hearing that as you've been?
Oh, you have no idea. There are so many women that have come up to me and they said, we're so glad you wrote this book. I have gone through the same thing. And they come up crying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just been such a release for them. They said, it's so raw. The book is raw. I do lay it out there. There's nothing hidden in the book. There's no fictionalization or theatrical license, or it's there because a lot of it was already in newspapers or in other books. And Lisa Dickey, who helped me with this book, we had thorough investigation done on every single thing that's in that book so that there's no dispute
Right.
on anything.
But it's told, and the people who get a chance to read it will understand that the tone is very calm
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. So it allows you to really experience it with you
Right.
in a way that's different.
So going back to that very first question, the reason why I wrote that book was to release and heal and to come to terms with my life and where I was going and how I'm going to proceed and move forward. But it has been therapy, and I'm so glad that I did write it.
And it's salamander, the significance of salamander.
Yes. So I'll tell you this little story. Um, and this is the one part of the book I did not get right, and I found this out 2 nights ago. But the man by the name of Bruce Sunland, this is all fact. He was a World War II fighter pilot and was shot down over Nazi-occupied Belgium. He was able to escape. His entire unit was captured into a POW camp. He went across Europe on bicycles and landed into Allied territory of France. And I didn't realize he played for the French resistance. I did a little bit more digging and checked with some other people, and I thought it was the U.S. had come in there and had given him the code name Salamander. It was France, because in France, they really worship salamanders. King Louis XIV had them around his moat, and he felt as though that the salamanders protected him and protected his kingdom. So they gave him the code name Salamander. And he says, well, what does it mean? He says, well, it's the only animal that can walk through fire and still come out alive. But if you cut off its limbs, it regenerates. So it was the French that gave him the code name Salamander. Now, there is a TV show called, oh gosh. Thank you. Hogan's Heroes. And that is the story of Bruce Sunland. I mean, it's
And that's the
made into
title
a
of the
company.
book.
Yeah, it's Walk Through Fire. And I asked him, I said, can I have that? It hit me so hard when he told me that story. He says, you can do whatever you want to do with it. He couldn't figure out what I was going to do with it. But I ran into his son at a Mets game in New York, and his son came over to me. He says, I can't believe how you took my father's code name and branded it into a company. I said, it really meant that much to me. It really did.
Well, you're sharing your story and your life with all of us
Yes.
means a lot.
Can
So,
I read
thank
something at the end?
Yes. This is what
how,
you hope authors will do. And you,
because people have asked me this, you're going to read in the book how I made a lot of mistakes. But I said, if I could go back in time and talk to my younger self, I would tell her this: trust your instincts. Get to know who you are before you give yourself to someone else. Believe that you can find happiness and that you deserve it. You are going to be okay.
thank you.
You're welcome. I want to thank all of you all for coming. This means so much. When I got the invitation from you to come here and talk about my book, it was unbelievable. I started crying.
Oh, no, because when you mentioned that you were writing a book, I did say, please come to the Library of Congress. Please, because this is an institution that believes in the fact that everyone's story matters and stories can be inspirational. And this book is going to do so much for so many people. It already has. So we thank you for being with family and friends in a smaller setting, because you've been selling out auditoriums and stuff, just so you have a moment to share and just know that this journey that you've been on is something that we will cherish. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And let's sign the book.
Okay.